Today I want to talk to you about one of the most important skills for building stronger relationships and using emotional intelligence, and that's empathy. And today I want to share 5 questions to develop your empathy, and these are 5 of my favorite questions from the EQ Coach Card deck. First, I want to talk for a second about what empathy is. It's an emotional connection between people. It's not something that you give or that you get. Empathy is something that you co-create. It's a space, and in that space you can feel your connection with others. There are 3 parts of empathy: a cognitive part, an emotional part, and an action part. Most of us have a working definition of empathy that's something like walk in another person's shoes. And that's a cognitive idea, but it doesn't give us a way to practice empathy, to put it into action. And I want to give you some tools that can help you grow your empathy toward yourself, in your own relationship with yourself, and with other people. We can ask ourselves and one another questions that help us bring all 3 of those parts of empathy into action. Remember that there's an emotional part of empathy. So the first question I want to share with you is, what mix of feelings do you have now? This is an important question because rather than reducing our feelings down to one thing and saying, how are you? Or even, how are you feeling? It's really hard to answer that question. When we open up the space to say, what mix of feelings do you have? What we're doing is honoring the fact that there are multiple emotions in this situation. And that as we start to engage with these multiple emotions, we're going to start to have a deeper and more honest conversation. And so just coming back to that, well, would you like to tell me more? What else is going on? Is there anything else? That curious questioning to discover this mix of feelings will help you figure out a great deal about what's going on for the other person, and will also help them feel your curiosity and your caring. The second question is, what need is underneath that person's feelings? Now, if you're asking this to yourself, recognizing that your feelings are there for a reason, and understanding that the feelings are messages from you to tell you about something you're perceiving. What is it that you're perceiving that's important? One of the ways that we can increase our empathy when we're talking to other people and help them feel that empathy is recognizing that their feelings are valid. And asking a question like this will help you figure out that there's something more going on than on the surface. And as we understand the need that's underneath the emotions, we're going to be able to actually solve the problem or help the person that we're talking to see more about what's really going on. In the 6 seconds model of emotional intelligence, we have a variety of competencies that we can develop and practice that let us work with emotions more effectively. One of these is about looking from multiple perspectives. And this helps us with empathy because we're able to start to see for ourselves, or help somebody else see, that these multiple viewpoints are telling us different things about the situation. And sometimes when we feel stuck or when it's hard for us to access our empathy, it's because we're not seeing we have choices. So this question, do you have choices? What other choices do you have? What are some other ways of seeing this? This is not about negating the one way. It's not about saying you're wrong, the way you've said it isn't the only way to see it. It's just to be curious and expand the possibilities. Are there other ways to see it? Are there other choices that you have? You can ask yourself this question to help you look at the way you're responding to others. And when you're in a leadership or coaching, parenting, friend conversation, when you're in a conversation, you can ask somebody else, do you have choices? The next question is, do you need others in order to achieve your purpose? This is an incredible question because it starts to connect what's truly important to the relationship that we have with other people. This is a question that I often ask in my coaching when I see a client who's focused on their goal and forgetting about the importance of relationships or struggling with empathy. And by connecting and realizing in order to do what I really want to do in the world, it's working with and through others, it's engaging, it's building relationship. So we can mandate and we can say, this is the goal, I want everybody to do it, let's go. And you fail to enroll them, you're not going to get their full energy. You're not going to get their full participation. But you're also not going to be building alliance, building team, building relationship. If you can connect together that shared purpose and the relationship, then you unleash more energy from yourself and the other people that are involved. That's really the essence of leadership. This last question is a different take, and it's about kind of flipping empathy around. And the question is, what empathy can you give yourself? Again, this is a question for you to consider. As you're developing empathy, don't only focus it externally. We know from our research at 6 Seconds that when people feel more connected with their own emotions and they feel more empathic towards themselves, they're more effective at holding authentic conversations with others. They're able to connect more meaningfully with others. So empathy is a two-way street. And if you're only focused on other people, you disconnect yourself. And remember, empathy is all about a space for connection. So if you're holding yourself outside of that space, you're not going to be optimizing the full potential of empathy to strengthen both of you. This is also a question you can ask somebody else, because a lot of times when somebody's in a place of struggle, they have big feelings. And a lot of us get very judgmental about our own feelings, our own failings, our own struggles and shortcomings. And simply asking, what empathy can you give yourself, is a way to remind all of us that it's not about perfection, it's about growth, it's about learning, it's about being in process. And that empathy towards self is a way not to excuse our own bad behavior, but to have the compassion to let ourselves look more clearly and step towards our goals more intentionally. The real heart of empathy is not the words that you use, the questions that you ask. The impact of empathy is going to come when you feel it. And as I mentioned, it's something that you co-create. So as you start to feel more compassion, as you start to feel more openness and vulnerability, and you step in more authentically to the conversation with others, they'll feel it. And then it's like a little ping pong match. But this is a ping pong match where you're going back and forth to deepen empathy. And as you take a little bit more risk, you have a little more courage, you're a little more emotionally honest, you're inviting the other person to do the same. And together you expand this space of empathy. If you like these questions, they're part of a deck of 64 EQ coach cards. This is a tool that I use all the time. I'll pull out a card and look at it and reflect for myself to help me practice and bring my emotional intelligence forward. And it's a tool I use in coaching and in conversations. I'll invite people to look at a card and think about it, and we talk about it. And it just helps take the conversation to a deeper level. We'll put a link below for you to get the cards from the EQ store, and we have a whole collection of resources that we've developed and curated to help put emotional intelligence into action at work, at school, at home, and for all of us every day. Let's keep practicing emotional intelligence and bringing our empathy forward.